So in this video I'm just going to talk through how I make these fitted wardrobes using MDF panels.
So pretty standard wardrobe design, 2 doors, a divider on the top shelf there, a shelf here just under the curtain rail, and a few drawers in there as well. It's pretty straightforward. You can do this with simple mathematics and just a little bit of planning, thinking about how the trim pieces will go on, and also leaving enough space at the top and sides and back to make sure it actually fits into the void. And that's it.
All those measurements are sent off to a cutting workshop and the sheets are delivered within a few days. I then do all the jointing using a track saw and biscuit jointer, and I prime all the boards by hand using a foam roller and Zinser bin. It's the best primer for MDF, which I've experimented with.
So here's the plinth for the wardrobe. This is going to be screwed down to the floor. This is a nice square frame, although there is some twist in it this way. So that will be dealt with by screwing it down. So the next step is to find the highest point on the floor. And just using a short level, I'm checking the back first, working towards me. I can see that this end is much lower. This needs to go up. And then front to back, I can see that that's really far out. So because there's twist in this frame, we need to lock it down. And I'm going to lock it down at the highest point in the corner here. So the next stage is to level front to back like this. And my level's long enough so I can actually put that right across the whole span. Here's the trick. If you start putting your packers under here, checking the level each time, it's going to be pretty slow. What I do is line up a combination of different sets, and then I can just check the level on each one very quickly, just to kind of get a ballpark figure, and then I can fine tune it. So I found actually it's quite far out of level. 10mm isn't even doing it, so I'm going to take a 3mm and just pop that on there. And we're done. So I've screwed all the corners down, and obviously that clamping force has now changed the level even more. So now I need to just fine tune it with 1mm packers, and that allows me to just kind of get it all absolutely spot on. So that's it all done there. So we've got a nice gap underneath, but that'll be covered up with our trim, and it'll be scribed to the floor as well. And also we need the final floor covering as well. So that's going to be slid underneath, and then we'll scribe on top of that. We've got a nice support in the middle because there's a lot of weight in there. We don't want it to sag down when we put our boards on top. I also left quite an adequate gap around the sides, I think about 30mm on these sides. That's in case the wall's not quite plumb and we don't want the wardrobe just like kind of hitting the wall at the top. So there's a bit of a gap there. Down here, we've pushed it right up against this wall, and there's a reason for that. The inner face will be going on here. We'll have a carcass, and then I'll just be putting a kind of trim piece on the side of that, which then will be scribed to this wall here. So that way we don't have a nasty little gap to fill, which you'll see front on. The only tiny gap you'll have is this side. So we're sandwiching 2 pieces together, this large piece inside, and then a trim piece on the outer face. You'll see that at the end. So the build's gone really well. Oh, got monkeys in the background there. Yeah, so we've got a test fit done, and here's the carcass. So all the joints fit. Some are a little bit tight, so I had to just add a little bit of a sanded edge down there. It slots in, it holds together with friction now. Using biscuit joints, which really do look like little tasty biscuits. These just slot in, very handy type of joint. As you can see, kind of like a mortise and tenon, and then we can add a little bit of glue, screw that in with pilot holes, and it's all perfect. It's all looking good. Once the sides are all screwed together, much easier to do it on the floor because you can drill from the sides. Then this is the backboard. That'll just be laid on, screwed around the perimeter. That holds it all square. I will also use some really fancy brackets to clamp everything square. These are beautiful. I found these in a charity shop, believe it or not. So I'm just going to pilot holes from the inside out just so I know exactly where they're going. Otherwise, if I'm going from the outside, I'm sort of flying blind and I don't know where that rail needs to be. So this is quite handy, quite easy. Just pilot holes.
Less is more with wood glue. If you add too much, you get a nasty squeeze out, which you have to clean up afterwards. And actually, the glue is actually much stronger than the wood itself, so we don't really need a huge amount.
Another thing is that the floor's not level, so I'm building it on the floor. So in order to avoid the edges not lining up, like this could drop down lower, for example, I've just lifted them up on the little pads. So I can actually see that this isn't level here. So I need to just shim it with 4mm shim. Then that can go underneath there and just lift this up to get it flush. So now that's 2 of the corners on and these panels are screwed on as well. So now I need to get these sides on, and the nature of this room is it's pretty small. So I need to, obviously I can drill here. Over there is pretty tricky. There we go, that's how it's looking now. So we've got the brackets in the bottom holding it in, and they're actually holding with screws all the way around as well. Now we're going to take the backboard and just lay it on and screw it in place. That was actually really hard because of the narrow space in this room, but managed to tilt it up and drill in from the sides. That's a perfect fit, absolutely square, and there's a little bit to adjust down here. In the process of screwing up, I don't want to add a screw on the corner, it's a weak point, it might split off, so I've added 2. And noticed on the base there's a little bit of a lip here, so I'm just going to take that off with a chisel. I actually decided to pilot all the holes and countersink them. No one's ever going to see the countersinking, but it does make it slightly stronger. It's all perfectly square because this board was cut square. And so now all I need to do is lift this up. Hopefully it's not going to hit the ceiling. I already tested it, so it shouldn't. And I also need to take the clamps off here because that's the base. I need to sit it down. So, the moment of truth really. I put a towel down just to protect the edges so they don't scuff on the floor. They will be covered with trim anyway, but it's just nice to kind of protect stuff. And here we go, let's lift. Tricky. Okay. So I need to actually completely let's go behind the ceiling. I've got the clamp up there. Shit. Let's just take that off. There we go. Here we go. I have to say I'm really happy with that. It's really transformed this room, and it's not really closed in the room either. It's just added a humongous amount of storage to a room which, well, this whole house hasn't got any storage because it's a very small house. So that is amazing. And I'm really happy because precision. Absolutely perfectly fits on this plinth, right up to each edge. And it doesn't get better than that. Also, the wall doesn't actually push. Sorry, zoom out a bit. Also, the wall hasn't pushed out that way at all, so we've got enough space here to play with. And our trim will go on this side and it will just touch this wall. So we'll end up with a double thickness of board here, and then we'll have a trim on the face and our hinges will go on this face. So that will be flush with the doors. So it will look really nice from the front. That is really a perfect fit in my mind. So that's the end of the first phase. Really, I need to fix this in just to stop it toppling. The way I'm going to do that is